Can I buy my cosplay? This is a common question that I see from newcomers to the hobby of cosplay. Can I just buy my costume instead of making it? I won't bury the lead here. The answer to that question is yes, of course. Now, before you click off having got your answer, there is more to the video, I promise. In this video, I'm going to yap about some things you should consider when purchasing your costume, as well as some things that you can do to make those purchased cosplays look their best. So if you're interested in any of that, I'm really happy that you're here, and let's get into it. I have been cosplaying since 2014, and my god, has the availability of pre-made costumes changed. This past Halloween, I had so many trick-or-treaters come to my house in anime costumes. And these were not handmade costumes, these were mass-produced. Halloween stores were not like that when I was a kid. When I was a kid, you might have been able to find like an Ash Ketchum or a Goku costume over at Party City, but it was pretty much slim pickings. Now, post-2020, there are so many anime-themed costumes that are available at Halloween stores for both kids and adults. It just shows how mainstream something like anime really has become. Cosplay is even a word now that people outside of the community know what it means. I'm not trying to sound old, but I kind of am old. When I first started going to conventions and getting into cosplay, buying fully made costumes was not the norm. People were making costumes from scratch or going through their closet or local thrift stores to piece together an outfit to make a costume. Of course, in the present day, people will still make, thrift, and alter pieces for their cosplays. But now, when you go to a convention, you will see many people walking around the con floor in cosplays that were fully purchased online. The amount of online retailers that sell full cosplays, not just Halloween costumes, has exploded in the last few years. Some of the most popular in the current day include Doki Doki, Mick Costumes, and Easy Cosplay. These retailers sell both incredibly popular characters and sometimes way more niche ones. Another less common option for purchasing cosplays is to commission an artist to make a cosplay for you. There are crafters out there who sell specific cosplay pieces, such as styled wigs for specific characters, and there are also crafters who will make full cosplays based on your body measurements. Getting a commission done by somebody with costume making experience can get you a beautiful result, but just keep in mind that this route is going to take a lot more time and will often be more expensive than going for a big retailer. Quality work takes time, and these people are often working completely by themselves or with a very small team in order to make your costume. Also, the artist needs to make a profit while also considering prices for material and labor costs. So a commission is going to be more expensive than purchasing from a large retailer that mass produces these costumes. Of course, the artist being commissioned is justified in charging more for their work than a large company with way more resources, but it's just something to consider. Is buying your cosplay better or worse than putting it together yourself? Really, it just depends on the person and their particular needs. Personally, I make most of my costumes because I enjoy making stuff, but I have purchased cosplays that I love as well. In my opinion, just pick the option that's going to make you happiest, because that's important. When you cosplay, it should be about how happy you are with the process and the final look. If you are going to find enjoyment out of the crafting process of making parts of your cosplay, go ahead and do that. Or if you are just hoping to wear the costume and not putting in the time to craft it and just get photos and hang out at cons and have fun with your friends, then do that. Really, it's about you. If you do end up purchasing a cosplay from one of these larger retailers, here are some things to consider. A lot of these retailers are stationed in Asian countries, so it's important to keep that in mind when it comes to sizing, costs, and shipping. Always look at the size chart before you buy it. For my fellow Americans out there, these costumes tend to run smaller than standard US sizing, so always check the size chart for measurements. It's also a good idea to look at the return policy too, because often the return policies on these sites are different, and sometimes you have to pay to send something back. The shipping cost and time can vary greatly depending on where you are, so just take a look at that too before you purchase. Very often, these costumes are going to be cheaper than what it would cost for you to make the entire cosplay from scratch or commission somebody to make it for you. But the downside to that is that these costumes can vary greatly in quality. When you make something, you have full control of the final product, but it takes a lot of time and effort to do so. Purchasing cosplays, however, can be a bit of a dice roll. Sometimes when you order a cosplay from one of these bigger companies and you excitedly tear it out of the box and try it on, it doesn't look as good as the photos that you saw on the website or on their social media feeds. If you find yourself in this situation, there are some things that you can do to upgrade that cosplay and get it looking a bit closer to what you wanted. A costume is rarely going to look its best when it is fresh out of the shipping box. So here are 5 things that cosplayers do to make their cosplays look stunning both in photos and on the con floor. Number 1, ironing or steaming. This makes such a difference. These costumes have a lot of creases from shipping, so using an iron or a steamer helps to make it look less like you just took it out of the box. Just be careful when using an iron or a steamer because different fabrics need different heat settings. Before you take an iron directly onto a costume, you need to test it out on a small area of the fabric that isn't really noticeable, like the very back edge, just in case the iron is too hot and is going to damage or burn the fabric. You can use an iron or a steamer for this process. I tend to use a steamer for more plasticky fabrics and an iron for others, but just look at this difference. Number 2, special undergarments. This is a tip that is helpful if you feel like the shape or silhouette of the costume isn't matching what you saw on the website now that you have it in person. Sometimes all you need to get closer to the finished look is just getting some fancy undergarments like the models are probably wearing in those photos. Let's take a look at skirts. If you are finding that the skirt of your cosplay is not as floofy or shaped as what you saw in the picture, a hoop skirt and/or a petticoat can make the difference. For example, this is my macrophage cosplay from Cells at Work as it came. Not bad, but definitely not as floofy as my girls in the show. But if I add this hoop skirt underneath that I got from Amazon, now we're talking. A petticoat is also a good option to add more volume to a skirt as well. This isn't a purchase cosplay, I made this dress for Nifty, but this is a good example of how a petticoat can add volume to a skirt. For more form-fitting clothing, I really like wearing nude shapewear underneath, especially because sometimes stretchy, light-colored fabric can be a bit see-through, so this extra layer just helps me feel more comfortable, and it smooths out marks that traditional underwear might show. Number 3, basic wig styling. I feel like this is a universal experience for anyone who has ordered a cosplay wig that is not a commission. You look at the photos, you think, ooh, that looks great, then it comes in a squished bag wrapped in plastic, and when you put it on your own head, it's not giving what you thought it would. A lot of the time the photos of the wig on the website are styled. Some might say it's false advertising. Others may say the photos are just showing the possible potential of what the wig can look like. No matter how you feel about it, here are some things that you can do to style the wig that you have. To be fair, wig styling can be very complicated depending on what type of hairstyle you're trying to achieve, but these tips are pretty universal for any basic wig style. A super easy thing that really does make a difference is to brush it out. I recommend having some kind of wig head, but if you don't, you could always put it on your own head and brush it out that way. Take your time separating the layers of the wig and slowly brushing them out. I like using a wide tooth and then a fine tooth comb, but you can also use a brush. If your wig has bangs, you may need to trim them, but learn from the mistakes of all those people who have tried cutting their own bangs and then posting their fails later on the internet. Cut a small amount at a time. You can always cut more, you can't glue it back on, at least not easily. Also, when trimming your wig, try cutting in an upward motion to avoid a blunt and uneven look. When styling the bangs, heat is your best friend to set the style. Once you shape the bangs, you can use a steamer to heat it up to set it in place. Also, you can spray it with a heavy-duty hairspray, the go-to is typically Got2b, then use a hairdryer to set it. Like I said, wig styling is a whole other art form in itself, but those are some easy styling techniques that you can do for basic cosplay wigs. Number 4, adding attachments. Sometimes the attachments that come on the cosplay for armor or accessories is not the sturdiest, but you can always swap them out to better fit your needs. Sew-on snaps or adding Velcro are good options to replace the safety pins that are often used, or to add in other places for better stability. For some pieces, you can add strapping for more support. I did this for my macrophage apron because the straps kept falling down every time I walked. I also did this for my Izutsumi cosplay. The tail was not going to stay on with just the safety pin attachment that came with it, so I ended up sewing an elastic strap and then wrapped it around my waist to give it more stability. While we're talking about attachments, it is always really important to try on your costume and move around your house with it before you wear it to a convention. This allows you to see if you need to make any alterations to the attachments of your cosplay. Trust me, it is way better to deal with any wardrobe malfunctions in the comfort of your own home versus in a bathroom stall in a con center. Been there, done that, don't want to do it again. And number 5, armor upgrades. I find that people are the most disappointed with their armor pieces that come with their mass-produced cosplays. These companies tend to struggle the most in the armor department of costumes just because they're trying to make them out of fabric. And realistically, you can only do so much to make fabric look like a piece of metal. Now to clarify, I am not hating. I am not saying that this looks bad and you absolutely have to change the armor pieces that came with your cosplay. This is just a preference thing. Remember what I said earlier, cosplay is about how happy you are with how you look. Something that I like doing if I don't love the armor pieces that came with a pre-made cosplay is I will make my own. Cosplayers will often make some pieces and add them to purchased cosplays just because it is a lot less intimidating to make 1 or 2 armor pieces versus making an entire cosplay from scratch. For example, let's take a look at my Izitsumi cosplay again. The costume came with this fabric chest armor as well as these pleather arm guards. Even though they were made pretty well, I didn't love the fit of them on me, so I made new ones out of EVA foam. Working with foam is one of my favorite things to do, and I love the way my new armor pieces make the finished cosplay look. Foam armor making is a skill that you may want to learn, and I do actually have a guide for that, so shameless plug time. If you want to learn how to get started on making foam armor, check out my video to learn the basics and get the link to my free foam smithing resource document. And that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you find this video helpful the next time that you are looking to purchase a cosplay. Please let me know what you think and let me know what you all do. Do you purchase all of your cosplays, make them, or do a little bit of both? Also, if you have another tip for upgrading a pre-made cosplay, go ahead and leave it in the comments too. If you are interested in more cosplay or con-related content, you can go ahead and subscribe to this channel. You can also follow me over on Instagram where I post a lot more frequently and you'll see my latest cosplay build. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!